Hi, my name is Jo Hadley. This is my podcast, Being a Human Lighthouse. I am a somatic therapist, which means I assist people to let go of the energies and traumas and patterns that are held in the body. For over 30 years, I was a physiotherapist, and during that time, I listened to a lot of stories, helped a lot of people, and the last decade I've been doing a holistic technique working with fascia and connecting the whole body. And it was very interesting to see a lot of emotional release, a lot of energy release, a lot of people feeling lighter, and also too sometimes emotions being stirred up and triggered by accessing the soft tissue. In a lot of new somatic therapies, it's assumed or known that the body keeps the score. It holds on to anything that we can't process or haven't fully integrated. And when we hold on to it, it uses up a lot of energy. And that energy is then taken away from the digestive system, the immune system, and then means we are a little bit more at risk at getting chronic illnesses or chronic pain, chronic injuries. The areas where all this unprocessed energy and emotion is trapped often creates a lot of tension and holding, whether it's in the organ or the soft tissue. I noticed with working with the fascia how much people would report after the technique of how much lighter they felt. And quite a few people would come back and say, I don't know what this is doing, but I'm responding differently. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling lighter. And also with the psychotherapeutic tools and counseling tools I'm learning, being present and just listening without any hands-on work, I also can see the same thing happening. By being present and asking the right questions, often this energy shifts and people can just start feeling lighter, more peaceful, happier even. It happens to myself as well, and as well as others. I've seen it in the clinic with my clients. I've had a friend recently who was really in a bad state, very stressed, and by the time we just had a chat and I gave her some safe space to allow her to just be and feel what she was feeling, she changed instantly just within our call, from being really, really, really triggered and stressed to being calm and peaceful. And it happens to me as well. I am doing a 28-day self-challenge with Ho'oponopono. Get that right? The Hawaiian energy technique that helps shift unconscious patterns and energy within our bodies so that, again, once we release them, more space for who we really are, the underlying inner essence, that inner wisdom that we all have. All of us at our core has this inner essence or soul, inner wisdom, true essence. You can call it many names, but we all have this. It just gets covered up. I mean, it's a human thing. We've all got layers of intergenerational collective trauma, individual traumas and patterns and faulty beliefs. In our individual lives, they often start when we're children, very young, because at that point we are completely dependent upon the people around us, and we develop coping strategies which kept us safe at the time but can end up creating a lot of dysfunction and issues as we get older. And these patterns and beliefs and stuck energies, they can also be from many generations previous, because it all gets passed down epigenetically. with myself, I've been doing this Ho'oponopono the last few days as part of my 28-day February challenge, and I did have one of my old patterns get triggered yesterday morning, really intense, and I just sat with it and thought, okay, let's give this a try. Let's work on this. It's a new technique. And yeah, within 10 to 20 minutes, I'd say, even though nothing changed, the circumstances that was really triggering me and stressing me out was still there. But I felt this calm and this peace. That intense emotion had gone. And today, things come up all the time. Like, I can have lots of peace for some days and then other issues come up. So again, today, I'm in the middle of some circumstances that are extremely challenging for me. So a lot of things are coming up now and really testing me. It's testing me to really go deep within and use all the tools and techniques that I use with my clients and that I've been practicing for years. And it reminds me of, I can't remember which David Hawkins book it is. I tend to read Letting Go or Healing and Recovery, so often that I can't remember which one it is, but it talks about these spiritual and energy techniques and this sitting with emotions and feeling with the emotion and letting it integrate. He talks about how these are often spiritual techniques and it's when the challenges come up is when we need to use them. And he said that's when people often stop using them, when the challenge arises. They're really good at their meditation, or their breath work, or their self-care when everything's going well, but then often forget it when things really, really go pear-shaped. Well, I've got some very, very challenging situations, and I have used it as an opportunity to go in and use my tools and to really trust and believe all the things that I've been reading about, practicing and teaching. A lot of times I get this relief. But then as you relieve and as you let go of a layer and you feel safe with that, boom, up comes the next layer. So I'm definitely doing a lot of processing and integrating the last few months. And today I've had something come up. I'll backtrack a little bit because yesterday after the emotional trigger, after it passed, I felt the inner peace. I felt inner peace for most of the day. It was awesome. It was really nice just to go through the day feeling quite calm, quite peaceful within. Then this morning I wake up and just feels a little bit, there's something going on there. So I thought, okay, let's just keep practicing. Practice my other techniques, my meditation, sitting and presencing my feelings. Went for a run. And still I felt a little bit off. So I felt like, I'm going to go back to the park and sit under a tree. And I did. So again, just being in nature, it took away this sense of irritation or resistance. And again, it made me feel more peaceful. These examples that I'm giving, whether I'm either with patients, clients, friends, giving space to them and watching them change, or whether I'm doing techniques myself, whether it's meditation, sitting and processing my emotions, whether it's exercising, breath work, Ho'oponopono, it doesn't matter what it is. It's interesting that if I choose a technique and it allows the energy to integrate, my circumstance has not changed. The particular life circumstance is still there. Yet I feel this calm, this peace, knowing that everything's okay. It feels great. I can have this state for some days in a row. I always know, though, that whenever we have these calm, peaceful states, again, it's a sign for the nervous system that we're feeling safe. And eventually the next layer of gunk that needs to be cleared comes up to be witnessed and felt and experienced. It can be frustrating and feels like it's a waste of time, But I do know that if I look at who I was and how I was even 5 years ago, I've grown exponentially. So there's always this growth happening. It's though sometimes being in the middle of it, you think nothing's happening. But when I look back, I know I've come a long way. So I guess today's musing is more about really just being in awe of the fact and in wonder of these changes that happen within. Yet nothing changes, obviously, on the outside. I'm sure things will change eventually. It's like sometimes we do a little bit of work, exponential change. Or things can be changing, we don't notice, because when we're in the middle of it, as quantum physics always says, the observer is part of the experiment. You can't take them out of it. So even when I'm being self-aware and observing myself and my own life, you can't take me out of that. I'm still there. And sometimes I think I have a pattern of minimizing. So I will tend to downplay things a lot. So I sometimes don't notice change. I sometimes think and joke with myself that I always expect big, massive changes. But that's my pattern. And that's not how it's always meant to be. There can be sudden, quick growth. There can be really obvious changes. It can happen as well. But sometimes it's just these little incremental changes, and suddenly you're at a quantum shift, different level. Or maybe we shift things and then everything else shifts around it, and everything else has shifted, so we don't realize everything shifted. That's how I'm suspecting it is sometimes lately. It's like, oh, how come I haven't noticed that change? Or, oh, did something change? Everything seems to change, but no one seems to notice. And it's like, once we change one thing, then everything else changes. And then we go, well, maybe that's the way it's always been. Now I think I'm just going to confuse myself a little bit more. It's really interesting to me how outer circumstances can stay the same. Yet inside can change so radically from 1 minute to the next. From peace and calm can suddenly turn to stress and distress as equally as fast as the stress and distress can change back into peace and calm and joy. I'm not quite at the stage yet that all circumstances keep me peaceful and okay with whatever is, but I know that I'm taking incremental steps towards that, and I can see I'm definitely closer than I was. And I'm still at the stage where I go, I would really love the outer circumstances to change. And I know eventually I will, because everything is passing, everything is temporary. We just sometimes feel like it goes on forever. So I always try to remind myself of these things too. And for the next month, I'm doing this Ho'oponopono challenge just for myself. I wrote in a post last week on my Substack blog that I was just talking to a friend a couple of weeks ago, and she was telling me how she uses Ho'oponopono for herself, and just within a day how much had changed for her. And I found it fascinating because I had worked a little bit with this tool but not used it a lot. We can drive ourselves crazy just having so many tools in our tool bag. It can be overwhelming, and that can create a problem. And sometimes I think for myself, I think my toolbox is filled enough now. I don't need too many more. But during a meditation, it came up to do this and to do a video diary with it. And when I went and sort of skimmed over and reread the book Zero Limits again by Joe Vitale, who details the Ho'oponopono technique. And they mentioned that it was like an energy technique and that how it almost painlessly removes the unconscious patterns and energies. I thought, well, that's what I'm doing all the time anyway. Let's see if we can do this and see how it compares to the sitting with the emotions and sitting with the unpleasantness. I'm still going to do that. I'm just going to add in the Ho'oponopono when I notice I'm triggered or if something internal comes up. So what it is just 4 simple sentences. So when you're triggered, you say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And a lot of this is about talking and connecting to our inner self and our inner wisdom, and also connecting to God, Source, Spirit, and allowing all that is to help remove these unconscious patterns. And as the book explains, there's so much happening in the world, within us and around us. We're only conscious of a tiny fraction of things. So sitting with things and being self-aware can only bring so much to our conscious awareness. And this technique is supposed to just allow all that is and our inner wisdom to let go of what it is that we really need to let go of in response to the particular trigger that has been triggered at that particular moment. I sometimes say those sentences over and over, especially if I'm feeling a really intense trigger has happened. I will say it over and over again. And sometimes I will say it just a couple of times, like if I'm watching the news and something happens, or not that I watch the news very often, but occasionally if I do see something and it's upsetting, I will often say it over and over again. And if someone I'm talking with or dealing with triggers me and I'm noticing the sensations within me, I will say it again a few times. I've noticed this time as I'm practicing, because I'm so much more aware and tuned in to my own inner sensations most of the time, I feel it complements the other sitting with emotions, noticing my emotions, always being just very present and aware of what's going on. So it complements rather than doing it as a separate technique. Anyway, I'm just curious to see whether any changes happen in my life that I'm aware of. And if it can help me with the huge circumstance that I have in my life. I like this particular approach because it deals with, I don't have to sit with the feelings and I don't have to really know what it is that's shifting or what is the unconscious belief. I just have to trust there's something shifting if I'm willing to let it go. So stay tuned. I do some updates every day on my Instagram, Facebook, and in the notes section of my Substack. And I figured even if nothing in my life changes, which is impossible because we're changing every instant. Like I'm a different person now than I was 5 minutes ago. And I'll be a different person again in 5 minutes' time. We're always constantly changing. There's always these biochemical and bioelectrical reactions happening within us. So we're constantly changing. So I figured even if nothing in the outer world or outer circumstances change, saying I love you and thank you and asking for forgiveness, a lot of these are a lot of simple tools that we already use within a lot of other somatic therapy and healing type therapies, helping ourselves to heal. I guess healing, I'm thinking the word healing is probably not even the right word, is it? Because when I believe that all of us have our inner essence, we're just letting go of what's covering that up. Is that healing? Or is that revealing? So I'd like to think we're revealing ourselves. We're revealing our true selves. That inner essence that we all have, that's wise and joyful and peaceful. And today, I may not do my little healing process. I might just stop the podcast here after I've had this bit of a chat and think about what's going on when we suddenly feel lighter after just having someone hold space for us and allowing us to be who we are and express our emotions without trying to change us or fix us, or just doing techniques like Ho'oponopono or sitting with our sensations and feelings with curiosity and non-judgment, or just being in nature. There's so many different tools that can help us let go of this energy and perceptions and beliefs that are blocking our access to our inner essence. Because as we let go of things, what is left is just more of us, more of our true selves. And it's that true self and that inner wisdom that is my goal. I want to meet myself in my true essence. I want to meet my inner wisdom. And I'm willing to be curious and allow myself to not be perfect. I'm willing to allow myself just to make mistakes. I'm willing to allow myself to feel like nothing's working. I'm willing to allow myself to feel like everything's working. I'm willing to just let go of resistance. And again, I think of Dr. David Hawkins, who said, it's just that step of being willing is the most important thing. And I'm definitely willing. I hope you find this musings interesting, and maybe you can notice whether when someone holds space for you, or if you do any techniques like meditation or breath work, do you notice that even though your outer circumstances don't change, the inner world changes? And I think if we do this often enough, we actually get this inner world to feel this peace and joy more often. We have to change our outer world. We have to change how it's experiencing. Many books talk about how our inner world will be reflected in the outer world, that the outer world is just a mirror of what's going on inside us. So it makes sense. The lighter we feel, the less we let go of all these, our dramas and patterns and fears. Then what's left? What is our inner essence? It is love, unconditional love, no strings attached. It is joy. It is inner peace. It is safety. And I wish for myself only a life filled with safety, unconditional love, inner peace and joy. And I wish that for everyone else that I meet, because we're all just a reflection of each other. Until next time, goodbye. Have a great week.